The moment we stepped up to the security checkpoint with our 6-month-old strapped to my chest, I felt it. Something was wrong. The TSA agent's eyes zeroed in on the small medical cooler hanging from the stroller, then flicked to the feeding tube taped gently to my daughter's cheek. Her expression hardened like she'd just spotted contraband. Before I could say a word, a shrill voice cut through the entire line. "Excuse me, that is not allowed through security. That's prescription formula. And they're trying to sneak liquids past the 3-ounce rule." Every head turned. There she was, Karen, with a leopard print mask tucked under her chin, phone already recording, finger stabbing the air like she just uncovered an international smuggling ring. My stomach dropped. Our baby had only been out of the NICU for 2 weeks. The special hypoallergenic formula in that cooler was the only thing her tiny body could tolerate through the G-tube, and we had a 4-hour flight ahead of us. I forced myself to stay calm, even smiled at the agent. "Ma'am, this is medically necessary. We have all the paperwork right here." But Karen was already charging forward, shoving past 3 people like a battering ram. I work in healthcare. I know the rules. That much liquid is a violation. You need to confiscate it immediately, or I'm calling a supervisor and posting this everywhere. Heat rushed to my face as at least 50 strangers stared at our sick baby like we were criminals. My wife's eyes filled instantly. She gripped the stroller so tightly her knuckles went white. The agent looked exhausted, already radioing for a supervisor, while Karen narrated to her TikTok, like she was exposing a terrorist plot. This is why we have rules, people. They think having a sick kid makes them special. Rage boiled inside me, but I couldn't snap. Not with my daughter's feeding pump softly beeping against my chest, reminding me she needed that exact bag of formula in less than 2 hours or she'd start screaming in pain. When the supervisor finally arrived, he took one look at the cooler, one look at the G-tube, and immediately started shaking his head at Karen. But she doubled down, shouting that we were abusing the system and demanding they open every sealed bag to prove it was really formula. That's when the gate agent who had checked us in earlier appeared out of nowhere, her face thunderous. For a split second, I thought she was there to back Karen up. Instead, she marched straight to the supervisor, leaned in, and whispered something. The entire checkpoint went silent. Karen's smug grin faltered when they pulled her aside for what they called a random additional screening. And I mean random. Full pat down. Shoes off. Her bag dumped on the table, while her phone continued recording absolutely nothing. My wife and I stood there in shock as the supervisor quietly handed me what looked like an official TSA card. "Lifetime medical pre-clearance and escort privilege for your family. Effective immediately," he murmured. "And the formula is flagged as approved for life. You'll never have to open another cooler again." Behind us, Karen was still getting wand for the 3rd time, screaming about lawsuits, when they waved us through a side door straight to the gate. No line, no questions, just a soft, safe travels, sweetheart, directed at my sleeping daughter. As we boarded first, I finally glanced back. Karen's face was turning purple as it dawned on her that her viral moment had detonated in her own hands. Whatever the gate agent had whispered clearly made sure every employee in that terminal knew exactly who had started the mess. I buckled our baby into the bassinet, heart still pounding, wondering how one busybody had nearly derailed my daughter's medically necessary flight, and what the gate agent knew about Karen that made them go nuclear so fast. We had barely settled into 12A and 12B, my daughter finally drifting off against my chest when I heard it. Clack, clack, clack. Cheap leopard heels storming down the aisle. Karen. She'd been assigned the row directly behind us. Of course she had. She stopped short, stared at the bassinet the crew had set up, then at the medical cooler now tucked under the seat with giant red medical. "Do not touch" sticker slapped on it. Her eyes narrowed like she'd just found a loophole. "Excuse me, flight attendant," she barked before the door even closed. "That family is a security risk. I personally reported them at TSA, and they only got through because they cried about a sick kid. That cooler is still full of suspicious liquids." Half the plane turned to look. My wife froze mid-rock, our daughter stirring. The lead flight attendant, a woman who looked like she had 0 patience left in her soul, walked over. Karen launched into a rapid-fire lecture about FAA regulations, pointing at the G-tube like it was a bomb component. Phones started coming out. My blood pressure spiked. The flight attendant raised one eyebrow, keyed her mic, and said loudly enough for the entire cabin to hear, "Ma'am, that cooler has been pre-cleared by TSA with a lifetime medical exemption. If you touch it, you will be detained upon landing for interfering with medical equipment. Your choice." Karen opened her mouth, shut it, then tried another tactic. "Well, I'm severely allergic to lies, and I don't feel safe sitting behind them." Then she did it. She unbuckled, stood up, and announced she was moving herself to an empty first-class seat for her own safety. The crew told her no. She did it anyway, plopping down in 2C like she owned the plane. When the actual first-class passenger arrived confused, Karen refused to move, clutching her bag and yelling about discrimination against concerned citizens. The captain stepped out, dead serious, and announced over the intercom that the plane would not taxi until she returned to seat 12F. Karen started live streaming again, sobbing about abuse of power and calling the airline woke terrorists. Passengers were booing now. My baby woke up and let out that heartbreaking pre-feed cry that rips your soul in half. I was shaking with rage, trying to mix formula one-handed while the entire cabin watched this circus unfold. That's when the gate agent from earlier appeared again, this time in full uniform, boarding the plane with 2 airport police officers right behind her. Karen's face drained of color instantly. The agent walked straight up the aisle, stopped beside her, lifted a tablet, and read in a flat, professional voice, "Passengers seated in 2C, you've been flagged for making a false report to federal officers and for disruptive behavior. You now have 2 options. Return to your assigned seat quietly, or deplane immediately and explain yourself to TSA in a room with no cameras." Karen tried the tears again. It didn't work. The officers reached for the jet bridge controls. That's when she snapped, shrieking that we'd ruin her life and that TikTok would expose the truth. As they escorted her back to 12F, one officer leaned down and whispered something in her ear. Whatever it was shut her up instantly. She sat down when completely silent and didn't say another word for the rest of the flight. Just stared straight ahead like a mannequin. The moment the seatbelt sign turned off, the flight attendant returned with warm blankets and apologized for the delay. Then she casually dropped the bomb. Because of the lifetime medical pass issued by TSA, our family now had permanent priority boarding and private medical screening at any U.S. airport. No questions ever. She handed me an envelope stuffed with seat upgrades for the rest of our trip, meal vouchers, the whole package. But the best part came 10 minutes into flight, when the captain's voice came over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, quick update. The passenger who caused our delay has generously volunteered to cover everyone's in-flight drinks today as an apology." The cabin exploded in cheers. Karen's card was charged $1,847. For the next 4 hours, she stared at the seat in front of her while strangers toasted our baby every 5 minutes. I still didn't know why security had gone so hard, so fast, or what that officer had whispered that flipped her off like a switch. All I knew was my daughter was fed, safe, and we were cruising at 37,000 feet with the entire plane on our side. But when the drink cart rolled by and Karen refused to look up, I noticed her hands shaking. Whatever they knew about her was serious, and it clearly wasn't over. About an hour before landing, the flight attendant slipped me a folded note with the airline's logo. "From the captain," she whispered. "Read it when you're ready. And congratulations." I waited until my daughter was asleep again, then unfolded it. Inside was a short handwritten note and a printed TSA incident report. My hand started shaking as I read. The gate agent who saved us wasn't just a random employee. She was the supervisor of the entire checkpoint that morning. And the reason she went full nuclear? Karen's real name was Karen Marie Ellison, 49, from Tampa. 6 months earlier, she'd been fired from her nursing job at a children's hospital for stealing sealed bags of the exact same hypoallergenic formula we were carrying. She sold them on Facebook Marketplace to desperate parents at triple the price while insurance appeals dragged on. The hospital reported her, but because the thefts were small volume, the state board only suspended her license for a year instead of revoking it. She kept her old hospital badge in her purse to flash at airports and feel important. When she saw our cooler and recognized the brand, she panicked. She thought we were undercover investigators sent to catch her still bragging online about having connections for rare formula. That's why she went berserk at security. She was trying to get our bags confiscated before anyone photographed the lot numbers that could still be traced back to her theft ring. The gate agent recognized her instantly. She has a niece with the same rare condition, and is in every parent support group Karen had already been banned from. The second Karen started recording and ranting about healthcare rules. The agent pulled up her hospital security photo from an internal TSA watch list. Yes, there is one for medical theft. Karen was quietly flagged to every federal officer in the terminal. That random pat-down? They found 3 unopened bags of stolen formula hidden inside empty protein powder containers in her carry-on. The lifetime medical pass they gave us wasn't just kindness. It was policy, making sure no other family could ever be targeted like that again. And the $1,847 drink tab? That was the exact street value of the 3 bags they confiscated. When the officer whispered in her ear on the plane, he told her the FBI was waiting at the gate with a warrant. Child medical theft crosses state lines. That makes it federal. We landed to applause. Uniformed agents met Karen at the jet bridge. She didn't scream this time. She looked at my sleeping daughter, then at me, and cried real tears for the first time all day. As we exited with police escorts and a wheelchair for my exhausted wife, the gate agent was waiting with a tiny stuffed airplane for our baby. She hugged us and said, "Tell every parent in your groups. The list is finally closed. She can't hurt anyone else's kid." We still carry that lifetime TSA medical card, laminated, in our diaper bag. Every time we breeze through security now, an agent spots the code, smiles, and whispers, "Safe travels, little one." And somewhere out there, Karen Marie Ellison is learning that the internet never forgets, especially when hundreds of furious parents finally get the screenshots they needed. Karma doesn't always wear leopard print, but when it does, it comes with a $1,847 charge and federal prison time. Thanks for flying with us. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button. Every subscription helps me bring you even more intense and satisfying HOA justice stories. Don't forget to tap the bell so you never miss an upload. I'll see you in the next one, where karma hits even harder.